Hi, I'm Bert Hovander, and let's make a tippy top. This is a tippy top that I made. You can see the basic shape. Basically a sphere, but kind of a smooshed bottom, like a pumpkin shape. This one I made a mistake. I got lazy, I didn't measure, and so I didn't hollow it out enough. So I went back in and I drilled a few holes, and now it works just fine. You can find more instructions in this book, Tops Making the Universal Toy by Michael Cullen. The tippy top. Let's look at the dimensions that are in the book. That you need to be very close to these dimensions, but I think there's a little bit of latitude. So we're going to assume 1.25 inch diameter. So he has the diameter across at this point. Other people say it needs to be up here about 1/3 down. So if it's 1.25 inch diameter, that means that from the base to here is 1 inch. From this point to that point is also 1 inch. The handle will protrude, according to this, 7/16. A half inch is fine. That's close enough. If you hollow it out in a square fashion like this, that would probably be enough wood removed. I will hollow it and kind of scallop it down. It's just easier for me, which means then I need to make it a little deeper because I need to get weight out of there. If the center of the diameter is across here, the center mass needs to be below that, so it needs to be down in here somewhere. If you just follow those guidelines, you'll be just totally fine. I know another place I saw said that the distance across this opening here should be 0.8 of the diameter, which would be a little bit slightly different than what this, but very, very close. Now, the tip here and here, when it comes to rest, just before it flips up on the handle, as you see, it'll touch at the corner of the handle and the corner of the sphere. If you round this too much and you strike down here, I've noticed it doesn't seem to matter, just so you're probably close to that point. Okay. Oh, the one last thing was this was a little rim was 1/16 of an inch wide right up there. If you give your tippy top a good spin, it'll flip over and jump up and spin on the end of the handle. Now watch it from the side view. Some people say that when you spin the top and it flips over on its handle, that it reverses the direction of spin. Well, if you're spinning it clockwise and it is now flipped over. From this perspective, it is spinning counterclockwise. So what really happens? Good question. I'll give you my explanation at the end of the video. What do you think? To make a tippy top, the first thing that I want to do is to make a nice flat end to the handle here. And then from there I will calculate the other important measurements. Let's do that first. Now I actually would like to either make it totally flat or a little bit dished. I think that's pretty good. Okay, that's very slightly dished. Now, if you're going to sand, now would be the time to do it. A little bit of 400 here. Turn the speed back down. Now, I want to sand it now so that I can have a nice crisp edge, because I'm going to cut this to make it into a 1/4 inch diameter. But if I sand it now, I won't be rounding the edge. And that's 600. This is black locust, which is nice. It's heavy and it spins quite well. Okay, I think I'm pretty good there. Let's do a rough check before I actually cut the handle. It's a hair long, but that should work just fine. Let's go ahead and cut the handle. And you, of course, didn't really expect me to be fair about this, did you? You didn't expect that, no. Okay, so this is the end of the handle in here. Okay. Okay, now it's time to cheat. Put that speed way down and bring up my plug cutter. This way I can't help but make all my handles exactly 1/4 inch. It makes life a lot easier. Okay, so much for that. Okay, at this point the handle is set to be about a 1/2 inch long, 7/16 to 1/2 inch long, it's just great. And I want the body to be 1 inch. And the center high point of the sphere needs to be about 5/16 down, which is 1/3 of an inch. So 1/3 down is your height, the center of the sphere, and so we'll curve it on down. And let's go ahead and part down here to kind of establish the bottom of the top. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I think I'm going to once I have my lines drawn on there, I kind of like to do a double check, make sure that they're darn close. Okay, I need to go just a little bit to the left of this line here. I'll just remember that rather than redo it. Well, no, I'm going to part down right now, mark it. Now I've left a good 3/4 of an inch there, so that's just fine. Now next step would be to round down to where I have 1 inch. 1 inch will be about there. Let's try that. Okay, that's too small. But if I totally leave the line, I'll be fine. All right, here we go. I don't want to start on the line. I'm just going to start a ways away from the line, just kind of rounding out my sphere. Okay, that looks very good. Now it's time to hollow it out. And I want to hollow down 5/16 at least. If you do a square hollow, make it 5/16, or if you do kind of a rounded one like I'm going to do now, it needs to go a little deeper. The center of mass needs to be below the center point of the sphere. That's part of the whole trick. I'm trying hard not to bump this edge. I want that to stay nice, crisp, and clean. Let's see. Perfect, I think. We'll find out later. Start shaping the bottom. Establish a little clearance here first. Deepen what I parted. Down to 3/8. Double check my distance. Unfortunately, the distances are really important. That's good. Right on the money. Yeah, this has got to come down. Shift to that different spindle gouge. It's sharpened at about a 30-degree angle, or 25, I don't remember. Turn that speed down, hit it with 220, kind of go at an angle, diagonally across it. Okay, let's try a little 400. And now 600. Let's go hit it with just a little bit of this Triple E Ultra Shine. That's plenty. Plenty. I'm gonna cram that in there. Turn the Okay, time to part off. Bring that speed up a little bit. And I have this stick with some 100 grit on it. You can see the nub that I have to get rid of, right? Okay. A couple of licks. Every time I give it a lick, I turn it. I'm constantly twisting it. Let's see how well it spins. Oop. Try again. There we go. It's up. That did very well. That was about 15 seconds standing up. And that's the tippy top. Now this is interesting. They say that if you lay your top on the side and it won't right itself, that it will not spin and jump up onto the handle. See, that one does. So does that one, barely. And that one rights itself very readily, meaning the center of mass is not that low, but watch it anyway. Can't complain. Try one of these other tops. I can't complain. They all work. I listened to a couple of explanations of the underlying physics of a tippy top, but I didn't totally follow them. Here's my explanation. A tippy top has three main requirements. It must be round, so there's no specific point to spin on, have a mushroom-shaped bottom, so the pivot point can begin to shift more readily, and it must have a center of mass that is below the center point. A flat or slightly concave handle seems to help it spin on the handle, but a slightly rounded end has worked for me as well. Without a point to spin on, it's almost impossible to spin the top with your fingers and have a perfect spin with the handle standing up. As I spin the top clockwise, since the center of mass is closer to the bottom and not being a perfect spin, the centrifugal force pushes the bottom, where the center of mass is, to the outside of the spin, turning the top on its side. The original axis has now rotated 90 degrees, and why it continues to turn over beyond this point, I don't really understand. Perhaps when the top is horizontal, though the center of mass and center of spin are in the same plane or as close to being balanced as possible in a horizontal position under the influence of the centrifugal force, the momentum of rotation continues, lowering the handle rather than allowing the handle to raise back up. As the handle lowers, it's like an ice skater spinning on the ice that spins faster as they bring their arms in. The top at this point may be slowing down, maintaining itself, or even speeding up. That's a good question. I don't really know. My point is that the lowering of the handle brings it closer to the center of spin, which may be helping the top to spin as well as encouraging it to rotate further on its side. As the top continues to spin, still in a clockwise direction, and as the handle dips enough to collide with the surface it's spinning on, the drag from that collision upsets the spin, and as the top tries to recover, it jumps up to spin on the end of the handle, where the center of mass is again at the center of spin. And although the axis has shifted a full 180 degrees from our perspective, it continues to spin in the clockwise direction. And finally, of course, as the spin, the stabilizing centrifugal force decreases, being an imperfect spin and having the center of mass above center, the top falls down on its side and then rights itself in its original position as it comes to rest with the center of mass once again below center. Curiously, a couple of years ago, I did make a tippy top that would remain standing on its handle when it came to rest. Well, that's my best guess. How would you explain it? And do you now see why I left this for the end of the video? Happy spinning! Does that mean spinning the top, riding a stationary bicycle, or turning on the lathe?